Raise those fists! Raise your fists!
There was about 800 of them on one side, and there was about 6 of us on the other side. And 50 of them crossed over the road and actually, got on their faces, started yelling, kill the Jews, Hitler was right, and started saying, baby killer and stuff. And then we just started kind of getting attacked. I had a concussion, my sister was punched in the face, grabbed by the hair and pulled to the ground. My mom was punched in the stomach and pushed to the ground. The group that actually hosted that rally is actually a group on our campus.
So are you nervous on campus now?
Yeah, walking around campus, I'm not gonna lie, I do fear for my life. I'm constantly paranoid, watching behind me and stuff. I'm actually afraid to walk by myself sometimes.
Some of my Orthodox friends, he won't wear a kippah anymore. He always wore a kippah. And the first thing he said is why do you not have your kippah on? He goes, I'm afraid to walk around with that on. I do not feel comfortable at our school walking with that on.
In my early 20s, I lived and worked in Washington, D.C. And a lot of my friends were really the young, brilliant kids who were all going to Harvard and Yale, and they were working for congressmen and senators. And they were all being hired by PR firms. And they told me, they gave me the blueprint of what was happening. The position was that they were going to turn Israel from being David into Goliath. They were going to buy certain magazines, they bought them, they were going to buy certain journalists. And my friends were telling me, on a day-to-day basis, we've really missed out in terms of understanding not just the length of anti-Semitism, but the depth of anti-Semitism.
60 years ago, after the war, it became very unpopular to be anti-Semitic. But I guess that ship has sailed and there's a new generation out. And anti-Semitism, that's always been sort of under the radar, has now become sexy once again. History now has been essentially rewritten in that the history of the Middle East began in 1967, apparently. Israel becomes the almighty power and occupier and abuser of human rights.
It leads to a lot of Jewish students feeling marginalized, alienated, threatened on the basis of their identity.
When Eaton started at McGill, he was elected as president of the IRC, which is the Inter-Residence Council. They kind of launched this attack against Eaton where they tried to impeach him as president.
I was targeted, I was attacked, I was threatened, I was ostracized and marginalized. And every time I went to the services in place to obtain some help, I was discounted on the basis that I did not have a right to claim that I was being oppressed.
The real kicker was when I took my children to the El Quds rallies.
To actually see these people with so much almost hatred towards me, people eyeing me down as if I was this criminal. It was crazy.
How do you get to the point that we're at today where it's not only acceptable to demonize Israel and Jews, make no mistake about that, but there's something wrong with you if you don't. Because Israel is the most egregious human rights abuser, that if you have a progressive, liberal, decent bone in your body, you cannot do anything but find that country and those people absolutely revolting.
In March of this year, the Student Association at the University of Ontario Institute of Technology hosted a week-long event called Social Justice Week. And this Social Justice Week included, among other things, a 5-hour-long program, a hate fest really, called Oshawa Against Israeli Apartheid.
The Jewish population here at this school is none. And even if there is, we're not vocal about it, and it's a sad, sad, sad thing. So I decided to go to the Student Association and present my case. However, being the only pro-Israel student on this campus, I was the minority, and therefore I wasn't really listened to at all.
And the Student Association, separate from that, put out an invitation. They said, we'd like to invite community organizations who are fighting for social justice to come and talk to students about what you do. We contacted the Student Association. We said, we'd love to participate in this and really tell you what we do. And we got an email back the next day that said, Dear Mr. Walker, our Student Association supports the BDS movement, the Boycott, Divestment, Sanctions movement against Israel. Your organization seems tied to the State of Israel. As such, we're going to basically ban you from participating and ban you from the campus.
And then in March, I opened up the newspaper and read pro-Israel group banned from UOIT. And I said, is this me? What's going on here? But it wasn't me, it was Robert Walker. And I called up Robert, I was like, hey, you know, I'm not the only one that's going through this at the school. Are you a student? He's like, no. My name is Robert Walker. I do Hasbara Fellowships.
She said, you know, this happens every single day to Jewish students at my school, and I'm glad this happened to you because it brought some attention.
We had a 3-hour conversation about my pro-Israel advocacy, about Judaism, and he's like, there's a wonderful program in August that you should go on.
Hasbara means explanation, and what really Hasbara is, it's Israel Advocacy 2.0. It's not just about providing information, facts, statistics, history about Israel. It's actually equipping pro-Israel students with a powerful narrative and a powerful strategy. And so what Hasbara does is takes the best and brightest student leaders to Israel for 2.5 weeks of high-level advocacy training. You know, we take our students to Arab villages, to East Jerusalem, to the Iron Dome Battery. We go to the Interdisciplinary Center in Herzliya, one of the top institutions in Israel, for high-level social media training. We go to the Knesset, we hear from Jerusalem Post reporters talking about best practices and engaging with campus newspapers.
You're given, you know, on-the-ground opportunity to really see the places and things that people are going to be debating and talking about.
When you're on the trip and you get to stand in Judea and Samaria and you can see the ocean, you can see Tel Aviv, and you realize how narrow it would be if borders were to change, it changes your perspective, and it also makes your narrative on campus a lot stronger when you can say, I was there, I saw it.
When we were in Sderot, we saw a playground that was made as a bomb shelter. And that struck me that this is the reality for these children.
We spend a lot of time on role-playing, on Q&A, on exercises, and it's the combination of both really academic and applied, which is what's critical, because back on campus, you know, just having the information won't do.
They go to the best minds, and they don't just get answers, they are asking questions.
So they come back, they're excited, they're motivated, they're confident, they're energized. And we work with them on helping them actually execute what they've learned. Okay, let's identify which coalitions we want to be reaching out to this year. With influential non-Jewish clubs we want to be engaging with. You know, student government, how are we going to measure our success? You know, campus newspaper. And so really mapping out what our goals are, mapping out how we're going to know if we're being successful.
You're sitting in a class with 500 people. One day they're going to be the leaders of companies, leaders of the world, and if they're given an anti-Israel sentiment on campus and that's all they have to go on, that's what they're going to be spreading as they enter the world and enter the workforce.
When we impact 30 Hasbara Fellows a year, bring them to Israel, we're impacting really 20-25 campuses, impacting hundreds of student leaders, and then of course impacting thousands and tens of thousands of students beyond them.
First and foremost, I think Hasbara really stands for something which in and of itself is a statement that Jewish students are not going to be abandoned, that we are going to be supported, that we are going to be helped.
Hasbara's role on campus is to assist students, and that's something they take pride in. They take pride in putting the students' needs first.
Without Hasbara, I don't think I would be able to be as strong because I didn't have the support.
And today in Oshawa at the University of Ontario and Durham College, we're actually doing two things. One is we have a number of students enrolled in a 10-week leadership training program called the Hasbara Aish Leaders. And second is we're actually helping Chanel start a pro-Israel movement on that campus for the first time ever. We've actually launched legal action against both the Student Association and the Faculty Association, both of whom were involved in rejecting Hasbara from campus. And I think the best part was that when we filed legal action, the lawyer who did it pro bono for us was a Hasbara alumni from 13 years ago.
Aish Toronto is really addressing the most insidious, deadly, contagious disease that exists: ignorance and apathy. Our mission statement is to empower Jews to better the Jewish world. Our key programs, the Jewish Health Network, Business Network, and Legal Network, were all started and initiated by students.
Aish is the reason why Rob and I met in the first place. It is the reason why we're so involved in the Jewish community.
Talking points are not where advocacy is going to be won.
It's about our responsibility as a Jewish community to stand up for our brothers and sisters and to be the people who make change.
Here's two people that learned the values of Judaism from Aish Toronto, and they heard the message. You've got to make a difference. Take responsibility. They're dealing with this disease of apathy and ignorance about Israel, and they're making a huge difference.
Every year we're engaging with more students than ever before, and over the last 15 years, we have almost 700 Hasbara Fellows just in Canada alone.
Whether it's inoculating the effect of an Israel Apartheid Week or overturning BDS motions on campus, Hasbara has enjoyed a lot of success.
This is the future. This is what we're doing here is essential.
We have got to support our young people, or we're going to lose them, God forbid.
If we fail to see the threats and the challenges that presently face us, then we are going to be allowing history to repeat itself.
You have to be proud of Israel no matter what, because the gift that they give us and what they do for us is incredible. And sometimes you have people say, what can I do? Well, it doesn't matter, do something, and it's so important.
We're young people, we're energetic, we don't sleep, we believe in the cause, and in that regard, we've seen unbelievable things happen.